Tim, welcome. So, Tim Holmes, a former professional rugby league player turned high performance leader, wellbeing coach, sports executive with a passion for people, culture, and unlocking potential. Nice. From competing in the Super League with Widnes Vikings to leading player welfare, strength and conditioning, and club operations, Tim has built a reputation for bringing energy, accountability, and human connection to every environment he enters. Now, working across leadership, team development, customer experience, and performance culture, Tim combines elite sport lessons with real-world business insight, helping teams, organisations, and individuals create environments where people thrive both on and off the field.
Yeah.
So, Tim, welcome to Unlocking Human Potential.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ChatGTP bio did really well for me,
Awesome,
didn't
mate. It was brilliant. And
made me sound like I know what I'm doing.
Well, I've also done a bit of research into you as well. So, everything I've read sounds like you know what you're doing as well. So, there's an assumption.
Right. There's a blag somewhere in there, I think.
Well, I think we all know something about something. So, I think it would be really good. One of the great things, why we got connected is because you'd obviously listened to Bob's, and you'd commented on a post, and my natural curiosity is to go, who's this guy?
Yeah.
So then you look at your LinkedIn profile and go, oh, this guy's actually got a bit of substance behind him. Actually,
he can play the game.
Yeah, but it was more the fact of so for me, when somebody kind of compliments, it's where's that come from? And then I go, okay, so what is that person complimenting you because he knows Bob, or is it actually because he holds something around the conversation? So when I then looked at you and I thought, oh, this actually guy has got some substance behind him. Hence why I went, oh yeah,
you're right. Do you come here often on LinkedIn?
You look like you'd be quite good for this. What do you think about coming on? So it's lovely to finally put it together.
Well, thanks, yeah. I'm really glad to be here to have the conversation. It's interesting you say about how we connect. So I kind of live in this world, in this space in my head that we don't cheerlead enough.
Okay.
For each other.
Yeah.
I think in life, in general, we often only connect with people when we want something out of the other side.
Yeah.
Or it can feel like that at times. Yeah. So I'm very conscious that I've known Bob for a long time. Bob was with me during and we might go on to it later on in the conversation, a certain time in my life when I was struggling. So it's just, I see it important to keep the tabs on people, cheerlead when possible. And genuinely, the conversation you had, and then I delved into other, was like, actually, podcast is really good. And I know in this space, it can be hard to get something going and consistent. You're doing it. So, well done. And
I appreciate
nice
it.
To be here.
And it's been really nice because I think that's how it's grown. It's grown from the kind of very similar, you get somebody on and someone's gone, oh, that's quite nice. And I'm going, actually, I think you'd be a good conversation.
We'll have a chat.
So, I think it's really nice. And I think it's great because, everything that we are trying to do with the podcast is try and share people's experiences and real. And that was one of the, especially from our first conversation, when, it was a really easy conversation. We first had on the phone. I thought, you know what, we need to record this. And even since pressing live, the conversation's been really easy. So, hopefully that comes across to our listeners.
I think you generally in life find your people as well, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
There's roots and there's connections, and nowadays there's algorithms that help you, but you've got to lean into that, and you've got to contribute to the relationship each way. So let's see where we go.
That's fantastic. Look forward to it. So like we always do, curiosity is kind of part of underpinning me as a human and as a coach, and one of the things that, and it's actually been a topic of the podcast. So my curiosity is, what is something you're curious about right now?
Well, we did it before, didn't we, about dropping the canon here. And one of the big ones, look surprised, is why no one has created a soundproof coaster.
But it is true, isn't it? I like that.
So I could use that one. No, the minute someone... I was watching something a few months ago, and a phrase was said, and it bought into a lot of what I try and do in life, philosophy of life, but has made me more aware of leaning into it. So the saying was, we're here to solve people, we're not here to save them.
Okay.
And early on in my career, as I've gone into any form of, I've always tried, I think, subliminally to save. So if someone was doing something, struggling with work, I would jump in to save them, not help them figure out why they couldn't do it.
Okay.
And when I'm doing that with people my age, from my similar backgrounds, I find the ability to help solve them now easy.
Okay.
What I'm curious now is the mind of the youngsters.
Okay.
Coming into business environments, sporting environments, whatever, life, and how do we solve their view of the world in relation to how we would like them to operate within it, or how we see better. So hence why I'm so curious, because I can't really put it in terms. It's figuring the younger brain at the minute in terms of what makes them click, what then can ignite passion, and how do I make it relevant to them in a space where potentially they don't even see the need to do it yet because they think they've got it figured out. So that that really.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Do you mind? Can we just hold you on that for a little second? Because one of the things is, I guess what I heard is the difference between save and solve. Can you just? I think I understand where you're going with that, and there's some straight away. I lean into my coaching models that kind of appear in my mind.
Yeah.
Just for people that maybe are unfamiliar with that, can you just share the difference or give examples that might help people understand?
Yeah. Well, the way I took it, and a lot of it is perception on a saying, isn't it? The way I took it and it resonated with me is that when you're working with someone or you see someone that you're struggling to align with, it's helping. The solve part of it is me understanding where are you coming from and looking at this problem.
Okay.
Once I can figure that out, we can then I can then try and find a common ground, and we can navigate the situation.
Yeah.
If all I'm doing is fighting a complete contradicting argument in your head,
I see what you're saying.
all I'm then going to do is get out the way.
Yeah.
Let me do it for you. Let me show you how to do it.
Okay.
I need to solve what's going on in your brain. To then figure out how you are better, how to help you see the world.
Yeah.
It fits in with conversation. There's like three types of conversation, isn't there? There's the need to vent, there's the emotional support, and then there's the feel to be a tribe. Often when you're having an argument with the other half, it's because you're having two different types of conversations over the same subject.
Yeah.
Type of, that's where I'm going with it. Where are you coming from as a younger person right now, sat in that chair?
Yeah.
Why are you struggling in this situation to solve a problem?
Yeah.
And now, how can we have conversations around that to help you work out how to fix the problem? Have I made that?
Yeah, it makes massive. I mean, to me, and I think there's two things that come to mind in my interpretation of that is, one, I think it's really powerful because I think a lot of adults struggle with that.
Yeah.
Recognizing the difference of how they're behaving. So I think if you can influence younger minds with that, then actually they're taking a real strong skill into adulthood.
Yeah.
Which I think if you're going to go into any, human connection, we don't know where the world's going to go with, everyone's panicking about AI.
Yeah.
Which actually is going to make human connection probably more powerful and more strong because there's already less of it.
Yeah.
How kids are communicating through Snapchat, TikTok, and all that malarkey, which is fine, but it's different. And, as parents, we're navigating that.
A lot easier.
Yeah,
isn't
correct.
it?
Oh, yeah, but they can communicate easier.
Yeah,
so there is increased communication, the complexity of communication, but then human connection in real life thing is something which, as a teenage daughter, I know she's navigating. It's all right communicating through a text, but then face to face, that's different.
Yeah.
Why do people behave differently? So she's navigating that, which I think is really important.
Tough.
It is tough, but again, if you're then helping them, she's disadvantaged to have me as a dad who spent the whole 25 years
with pen and paper and a quill.
But also spend the years, my kind of hobby is reading around behavioral psychology and, and understanding the human brain and, unlocking human potential and all these things. So for me, I'm very well versed at trying to help her navigate that world, but without also still trying to be a dad, and not kind of like you're telling her what to do.
Counselling session,
because she's got to work that out. And the other thing for me was that, and how it landed for me when you were saying that saying was, in one, you telling somebody, well, they're not actually ever finding a solution for themselves, because actually what you're doing is rescuing them. If you lean into the drama triangle, you're actually jumping in and rescuing them. So, what are they learning? Well, every time I'm struggling, it's all right, because Tim's just going to sort it out for me.
That's it.
Well, what happens when you're not there?
It creates so many single points of failures in so many organisations, and that's the issue.
Whereas actually, but also there's an acceptance that failure's bad.
Yeah.
So, well, if you can't do it, don't worry, I'll do it for you, because you obviously haven't got the capability to do it. Whereas actually the solve part, okay, so what actually is a real problem, and what do you need to do for you to solve the problem? And yes, you may get it wrong, which means that you haven't quite got the solution right this time. So what do you then need to do differently?
And as you're saying that, the saying takes so many meanings, hence the curiosity, and there's so many like roots off it. But as you're saying that, like, often the solve is how many times are you involved in something where someone's talking at you and you're thinking, I don't even see why this is a problem. Like, like, just crack on. The solve part for me is why is this a problem to you? Not me telling you it's not a problem. Crack on. What is it that is going on? What are the pressures that you're being fed? And this is where we got kind of going down the younger around the AI, around that something has gone on here that means this seems really big in your world. So let me try and, without you, because you're not telling me, and I've got to solve that part of it before you can then move on, and this conversation can get a bit deeper. So that I'm just a big one for the person on the other side of the room. What do you really want? What do they really want? What do they really need out of this? And how do we maximize that? Because once you learn that skill, not only are you unlocking potential in yourself, you're creating this space for others to then go, oh, wow, light bulb moment, this is it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is part of it, isn't it? Because sometimes people don't what they want. So they do need that kind of that space for, and that exploratory questions to sometimes help them go, okay, now I work it out. I can that support.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
And it's the practicing what you preach constantly, because we all get caught up. I mean, you're saying there about your daughter. Parental instinct is to dive in and save. We were talking before about my little lad who's feral, climbing to the top of a really high climbing frame. The parental reaction is to go in and be careful. He's got to learn. But yet we don't translate that into other areas of life often. And so how can we? And that isn't just about then going around serving other people. In learning that skill, we are unlocking the potential in ourselves to actually become then a more influential leader within the space that we operate in.
Hugely. And I think that is the power. I think that's the power we can offer people to, I love that.
Hopefully.
But we can only do what we can do, can't we?
Exactly. And knowing the limits of that can often be the unraveling of us all as well, isn't it? Like trying to push and push. But so that's where my curiosity comes from at the minute. How to get inside that brain. Often, as we do in all walks of life, we don't know the shoes that other people have walked in. We can't put out. So how do we get in there the best we can and try and relate as much as we can?
Perfect. And I think that's where curiosity definitely helps, isn't it?
Yeah, there we go.
Nice. So, Tim, and for first-time listeners, the podcast is really quite straightforward. There's kind of three areas that we're going to try and cover. So how do we get the best out of ourselves and unlock our own potential, which we've kind of talked about. Then how do we get and unlock potential in others? And then I think if people are going to give us, a good hour of their time listening to this, I think what would be good for the last 10 minutes is us to kind of wrap it up and go, okay, so what are the summaries of this, and how do we take some advice that people can actually do something with immediately? So kind of then going into unlocking human potential of self and unlocking yourself, where does that, when we sent this over, where did that land with you?
So it was where did that desire come from? That's where it landed with me. Where did my interest in the whole topic area come from? I think as a young kid that always wanted to be a pro sportsman, there must have been an element of needing to unlock potential within myself to achieve what I wanted to achieve. It's just never very apparent where that comes from. We were talking before, weren't we, about bringing children up, and where does the competitiveness come from? Where did mine come from? And to be totally honest, that probably an answer to your first question in terms of curious. I still couldn't tell you.
Okay.
What I did find when I then got hurt and had to retire and scrapped everything to zero, there was then a deep dive inside to say, right, who is the person you want to become? And having an ability to listen to self, listen to gut, and then thrive to find answers to the questions that the gut is asking you, then became the thirst for, okay, how do I unlock this? How do I maximize this? How do I achieve things that actually right now my gut and my instincts are telling me I can't do? That's where a lot of it came from a personal point of view. And often when people then start charities, it comes from a place of personal experience and personal growth. And from there, it was at that point that I realized so many other people around me were actually having conversations with me on similar journeys, but without actually saying, I'm looking for help to do that. They were just so clearly doing it, back to the solvent. So, well, okay, well, have you thought about, have you tried, have you done? From there, it was like, there is a real need, I think, inbuilt in many, many of us. We just don't ask the right questions. We don't use the right keys. We don't listen to gut enough to be aware of what's going on, to then try and maximize our true potential. We sit in that road of ease, but then often leading to regret as well. And it just doesn't sit that well with me to sit in that realm of what if. So if I can find out something within there that I didn't know, let's bang the door down and find out what's on the other side of it. That's where my whole passion for the topic came from. And then being in rooms with people that then say, oh, my eyes have been opened from a simple conversation, from a presentation, from the work we've done, that I came in and actually was only here because I was forced in to talk to you. And now 6 months down the line, I'm realising I needed it more than ever. I just didn't see it. That then is the thing that fuels me to keep going on my own journey as much as anything else, because when that passion goes, the passion goes, doesn't it? And the strength of message goes. So I think we are always led by purpose. I think, well, hopefully we can do, and I get that vibe from you, that there's a strong purpose of what you're doing and who you are. Can I just rewind a little bit? Go.
So
there's so much in there.
There is.
I could
there was
see
a lot
your eyes
there
going.
Was, there was good. There's some
note.
gold in there, really good. And I think the bit that I'd like to go back to is, you said that there was an element of going, I didn't really know where this came from, and then I got injured, and it was almost like there was a moment there that allowed you to give yourself time to stop and think. Is that a fair kind of? That's what it felt for me, that you're going on doing this, being driven by something that you weren't really aware. I guess my curiosity, being a
it,
was, what was it? firstly, what age were you then?
I was 21.
So you're 21. So up to 21, it was just it's driven to this. What did the time being injured, apart from probably, an emotional roller coaster for you?
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself in that time that you think you're bringing forward now into the man you are today?
One that the world will always keep spinning.
Yeah.
Without us in it. We put so much kind of identity and purpose, I think, on what we do instead of who we are.
Okay.
And regardless of what we do, the world will keep spinning if we don't do it.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how influential you are. Which then took, and that realization, that makes it sound like it was really easy. That realization was actually the hardest part.
Yeah.
And was actually when you say about the emotional roller coaster, that was the bit that was the the identity's gone, or that jazz. However, once you figure that bit out and you come to terms with that, well, then I may as well do and live in my purpose, because the world's going to spin anyway, whether I do what seemingly what I feel I should do just to keep my identity and my persona.
Yeah.
I might as well just go and live in purpose.
Yeah. And
fully enjoy and fully experience and fully push and fully unlock. Let's not sit confined. Why, So, because I lived, there was very much the ethos as a young lad. Well, all he can do is run around on a grass field. Right, so what's the best thing I can do running around on a pitch? Well, it's being a professional sportsman, and then it's playing as it was rugby league in the top flight of rugby league. Then it would be then to be international and playing in the best teams, but that's just still playing in the grass pitch. The thought of being able to work with different types of people in different types of businesses was like, no, all I know is rugby.
Yeah,
that's what we do. That's I am what I do. If we go on what makes me happy, what my purpose is, well then that opens up a whole other avenue. And so it was that moment that I make that sound like it happened like that.
Yeah.
Several months of severe depression and drug addiction later, we were on the other side of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's a real awakening then at that point of, right, well, let's go. And that's where, moving on now and where I am now career-wise, and, made a big decision at the minute to come out of rugby league again, is all down to purpose. We can live confined, frustrated, or I can say, no, this is me. And if I'm going out saying to the world I want to unlock people's potential, I've got to live and breathe by it.
Yeah.
So, that was the moment.
Are you comfortable just expanding on that?
Yeah.
So
he says, "Where's the dog?"
Yeah. Bring her in. No, I guess the reason I ask is I think there's it felt, I could feel, and I'm quite a somatic, whatever you want to call it, kind of guy. And one of the things I felt with that, it felt a very pivotal moment. My assumption straight away was, if you're a young lad from St. Helens playing rugby league, which for our American and other listeners worldwide
is a proper sport.
It's a sport that in a town like that, it's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a big, it's a big part of the identity of towns like that. It's a big part of, if you to achieve that, and I'm sure that, friends, family, all of those things, knowing that you're playing at the highest level, for that then to shift, and you use the word, I think that the identity difference, but for you to then come through and, like you said, I make it sound quite easy, and I was like, I get the impression it was definitely not easy.
Wasn't.
And the fact that you've come through that and the work you're doing today, which will be great when we'll explore, the fact that you've done that. I guess, is there anything in that moment, where did you get the help from? And there seems to be, you said there was depression, I guess just for listeners to be thinking, one, if they're hitting a pivotal moment in their lives at the moment in time, and they're probably feeling a bit like that, going, actually, I have lost a bit of my identity at the moment in time. Is there anything in there that you can take from those moments that actually, is there anything that you did? Is there anything that advice you could give to people at this moment they think would be helpful?
The biggest advice is, you alluded to it before. You said that at the moment of being injured, gave time to reflect, to sit back and reflect. What I did when I finished playing, what I did was still strive to keep the identity that I thought I wanted. So I threw myself straight into coaching. Okay. So I was in and around the club, and somewhat one of the players, Terry O'Connor, said to me at the moment, you need, because he obviously saw it, you need to go away. You need to leave because you need to work out what you want to do. Okay. And I didn't. I ignored it. And it was pivot. I say that because it resonates so much to me that I was like, he was right. Okay. He was so right. Yeah. Because I didn't. I tried to keep hold of it. Yeah. And throughout it all, every bit of my body was telling me, are you sure? You're really struggling here. You're not a player anymore. You're just pretending now that you're in a coach. You're just pretending. You're just trying to keep this facade going. And I was living in a world where I was trying to keep the facade going internally. Yeah. And externally, everyone would have thought, wow, he's doing really well. He's transitioning really well. Well, I wasn't. Yeah. Because my cupboards were full with drugs that you can't get over the counter. Yeah. I was making sure I was topped up regularly so that everything else could stay stable and everyone else could see this. And I was... So when you say, what advice can we give? It's to be aware when that voice is going off and work out what that voice is saying inside us. Because often and you can see it, you said there, like you can feel... Some of the work I do now is I tell people, like, your body leaves clues everywhere it goes. Yeah. Everywhere it goes. And what we think we're saying, often the other person on the other side of the table can see we're lying. By how we hold ourselves, just how we look, So listen to that inner voice that's going on. And if it is getting really loud, just maybe start to take half a step to work out where it's coming from and why it's happening. Because it's only going to get louder. And then we get into this fight where I think I was, that, that exercise, if I stand against you and put my hands up, you will automatically push back at me. If I stand at the side of you and put your hand on your back and say, come on, walk with me, you'll walk freely with me. Yeah. The more force comes against us, the more we fight. Yeah. And it's not a nice place to be in for anybody, let alone yourself.
And I appreciate you sharing that, because I think there's a lot of people that will resonate. Maybe not everyone listening has been an injured rugby league player, but I think there's always points in lives and careers, and especially as we are, our listeners are quite ambitious. They're either from a sporting background, a leadership background, a business background, which you tick a lot of boxes, which is great. But there's always points, isn't there? You'd lose your job, or you don't get that promotion, or, you've been in a career for a long time. I was talking to somebody yesterday who'd left a career in an NHS and moved into private practice, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, who am I? Yeah. Because my identity of this person is gone.
But how many people do you work? Because I imagine you come across it, that would go from NHS to a private practice, but then private practice falls apart. And they were that person that made that big jump from that NHS world that is pensioned, job for life, can't get rid of you, all protected. Yeah. Everyone's telling them not to leave. Yeah. They've left, they've gone and done that private practice, and the private practice hasn't worked. Yeah. But I think... And at that point, who am I?
Well, the interesting thing with that is 100%, because what happens is, I think, we'll come back to you, but I like the way you brought it back to me. That was good. I like it. Good. Nice. One of the things was, but I think for me to answer that honestly, I think what happens is that as humans, as we're going through, we do create things of self-doubt, self-esteem, self-confidence problems. And so we leave an environment thinking that's what's causing the problem.
Yes.
Where actually, if people really stop and think and go, well, there's other people in this environment that don't feel this. So what is it about me?
Correct.
What is this environment doing to me? So actually, I can only work on me. Yeah. So if you use the example of the NHS, as an individual, you can't change the NHS environment, but you can change your interpretation of the environment. But people, what they don't do is look at their own interpretation of the environment and go, okay, so how do I work on me?
Correct.
How do I stop, pause, go internalize, work on me? So then change the environment. Well, that version of you the problem is then you're moving into a different environment.
Still taking that version of you.
You're still taking the same version of you into that environment. So I think that's where the challenges still happen, especially from the work I do from a coaching world. The identity they've had as, and it's very classic in the NHS that you're a band 5, or a band 6, and you don't really know much. So you get told, you're afraid to fail because people judge you. Well, you're not very good, are you? You know, patients, oh, you look dead young. You can't be very good.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden there's this level of, and then you look a bit older. Or I've always looked about 40 since about 12, so I've always been all right.
Tell me about it. And then you lose your hair and you get creases on the top of your head.
That's it, 100%. Yeah. So I've always looked all right because people go, oh, he looks like he's been doing this for years, even though I've been brand new to it. But still, so that then sits with you. And I think it is a human trait that we then bring some of that through. And like you were saying, even the younger minds, there might be stuff that in adulthood, that things have happened in childhood that we're bringing into adulthood that you're then taking into leadership roles, and it comes all the way through. So when you then, use that example we were using, fail in a private practice setting, people going, oh yeah, you'd always fail. Well, no, actually, you probably didn't deal with stuff that you've been holding for a long person of time. It's just come out all the way through, hasn't it?
That's it. And it's listening to that gut, because you know the answer.
Yeah.
You might not realize you know it, but you do have the answers. Just probably using that example in that NHS setting, you've buried it, and you've never actually had a chance to dig it up in that setting because you've been running on the treadmill. You've got to dig down back to find it. I mean, coming back round almost back to the curiosity question at the minute, that the failure part really is a big part of the curiosity that the youngsters, we've said a lot of things over the way they communicate now, the way they, the big thing is, I used to go out on a nightclub and I would always say it was a ratio game. If I asked enough girls around the room, do you fancy a drink? One of them at one point is going to say, yeah. That was a way of dealing with failure, learning how to change. I don't know, it's a jokey way of saying it, but learning how that isn't there. Yeah. So how can we help create that? We're now getting to a point where now graduates are sending, mums and parents are sending graduate letters in for applying for jobs.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind, but that is the space. That is the reality. That is where we're living. So how can we help and unlock that? I feel like I'm repeating myself an awful lot, but that is the passion. That's where my drive comes from. There's so much in it. I feel like when you brought up about the bio at the beginning, I said, oh, it's all blagging.
Yeah.
It's because I'm feeling like constantly I'm on that quest to help and to understand really myself how we navigate that unlocking of people.
But so firstly, I don't think you are repeating yourself, if I'm honest. I think we're saying that. I think you're saying similar things, but I think that's because I think they're relevant.
Yeah.
And I always my example. I never apologize. If I actually say this sometimes if I run a workshop, I says I'm probably going to repeat myself, same thing a few times, right? So the first time it doesn't land, and I repeat it again, If I repeat it 5 times, are probably because it's important.
Yeah.
So I've said it 5 times, not because I've only got one thing to say. It's probably because
I really mean it.
I think you really think you should say no to this.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's something that is important for people to listen to. If you're saying things a few times, for you, that's a really important part. And we should actually go, okay, maybe I need to probably take that part and let's move into that conversation.
All I'm thinking is all of the things my wife keeps repeating at home now. I think maybe I should say no.
Maybe you should do that. Yeah.
It's important to her.
Okay. So the curiosity is what you're going to do differently when you get home. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. But I think it is important, and I agree, and I think for me, and then we'll move on to what you're doing now, because I think it's great what you're taking your learnings from. I think I would, to additionally to add what you've said to listeners, I think if you're feeling like that, we had Sarah Davies on, she's a psychotherapist, and one of the things she said is just be comfortable noticing. You don't always have to interpret it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take the time to interpret it. Just notice what you're feeling, why you're feeling. So if that voice in your head is saying something, it's getting louder, just notice it's getting louder. Yeah. But then it's about giving yourself permission.
Yeah.
When do we give ourselves permission to stop and think? As you're aware, I have a black Labrador, right? What's great about having a black Labrador, wind, rain or shine, twice a day, you have to take that dog out, right? For that 1 hour is my time to go, right, what do I need to do in this hour?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? I've given myself an hour, but I've been encouraged to by this puppy dog eyes to say, let's go. Okay. So in that time, I can give myself permission to go, right, what do I need to process? What do I need to think about? What do I need to do? What do I need to reflect on? And for me, that's been really, really powerful, because it's 2 hours a day of the phone's not normally on. I might have a podcast in or something, but normally that's to help me kind of process things. I think it's like giving permission, giving yourself time in a day to reflect on going, okay, so what is going on for me?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like this? What is that voice trying to tell me that potentially is helpful as well, isn't it?
Dead right. And it's knowing what is that activity or that time or that space that actually helps you become aware.
Yeah.
You said there about so many people will say, a lot of people I work with, oh yeah, get out walking. Same, we've got a dog, same as us. We've got a dog, go out walking every day. So I get outdoors and I get in the outdoors and it never does anything for me. Okay, but when you're out in the outdoors, what are you doing? Well, I'm walking the dog. I've often got my headphones in. I'm listening to a podcast. Right, okay. And what kind of podcast do you tend to listen to? Well, it's all the business stuff. So you're never removing yourself.
Yeah.
You're moving the position of your work. You're not really moving yourself out of work or out of that stress. So what are the types of activities? And it can be as, an hour a day out in the dog walk. But that might, at this moment in time, freak you out as to, I haven't got an hour.
Yeah.
We've all got 30 seconds, like you're saying there, about the other guest, to be aware. How can you create a pocket? Let's just start along the whole James Clear Atomic Habit mode.
Nice.
Just start. Find 30 seconds. How are you feeling? What's that voice? Make a note of it. Move on. Crack on. Do the rest of your day. Over a pattern of a week, over a pattern of a month, you're going to start to see some trends. And it just might then be enough weight to then kick you over into the next type of thing to do. And so,
certainly. I think it's a really good point, and and like you say, I certainly wasn't saying that everyone should just go and buy a dog and just go for a walk, because it's not works for everyone. I'm just saying that does.
Black Lab works for everyone.
Yeah, but
you weren't.
Does that make sense?
But
it's things like jiu-jitsu. So I've got a busy mind. So I've got, and I really find it hard to switch that off.
Yeah.
Whereas, at 6 o'clock in the morning when I step on a mat,
you ain't got enough time.
I have to be present because someone is trying to strangle me or break my arm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
And then we have a giggle and a cuddle afterwards.
Yeah, that's it. And then complain about the ringworm and move on.
100%. It's... But, so you've got to find what works for you.
Dead right.
And I think, and I guess the only thing, and then let's move on to what you're doing, I would add, and I'm curious if there's anything more for you, is that, it is that recognizing, like you've said, that voice is going and it's only getting louder and
Yeah.
actually it's not getting quieter. So what is this trying to tell you? Actually, it's telling you probably do need to take notice of it. What you do with that probably is then about, going, is this something I can sort myself, or is it something I probably need to sit down and with someone like yourself have a conversation around, because I probably need to explore this. And actually, although we both would argue, I think, that we've all got the answers or the solutions in our own head, sometimes they're not always clear.
No, that's it.
And we need support to find that clarity, don't we?
Totally. Always put it down to stress is like a stimulus or an alarm to create action. You wouldn't ever sit in a building with the fire alarm going off and just sit there, hear the alarm getting louder and louder and stay sat there. You would always take action. So what is the action? It might only be a small one. In that, using the building analogy, room could be full of smoke and we don't know which door to take. But we're not going to know if we stay sat here.
Yeah.
They're only going to know if we try and fail through one door and try another. So what is the voice saying? What is the first step away from that to take action and do it? Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. I love that.
There's a clip.
I was going to say that. We need to clip that, don't we? So just tell us a little bit. So what have you then taken from your experiences that you've developed over this? And it sounds like you've been on a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
What is it now that you're doing that's obviously helping support and unlock the potential in others?
Yeah. So I now, as we speak now, I'm now a general manager at Rugby League Club.
Okay.
And actually the Rugby League Club that I ended up retiring from. So it's quite a nice closing of the circle, coming back. But living in very much what we've talked about here, about living in purpose and not listening to an inner voice, listening to frustrations, living my way, but also being very aware of what other powers and views and perceptions on the role are, confronting them and taking action. So I'm in the process of actually leaving my role at the minute. I went into the role to create influence, which we have done. My way of doing it is different to the way the current board deem the club.
Okay.
And that's fine. That is totally fine. But it's being aware of that, being aware that I can change, I can move my way of thinking into another person's and be frustrated for the next however long working career of my life.
Yeah.
Or I can say, that's great, I've learned an awful lot from this opportunity. It's been brilliant, and it really genuinely has. Now and that's not to say we always have the right answers. This is not just something that, I've thrown my toys out the pram and all of that. This has been over a long period of time with a lot of talking to people and working out the scale of the landscape around me. But ultimately purpose and intention and everything that I feel that where I am in life right now is not aligned, and that's fine. And we move on to the next opportunity. That in itself, I feel, is leading by the example, more so to my children, but also to my friends and the people around me, that when he comes in a room and he talks, he's talking because he truly believes it and truly means it, not because he's living to his paycheck.
Yeah.
And he's bending with the wind. It's not that my way is the only way.
Yeah.
It's just I can't live with a voice nagging at me all the time that's saying, you don't fit here. This isn't right. No. Because ultimately, it ends where we've just been talking about.
But that was, and it's interesting you say that, because that's what was my internal dialogue was going, when you were saying about that, and there's a misalignment, should we call it?
Yeah.
Of what you think is the correct path and what others think is the correct path. They seem to be different.
Yeah.
So you said I can either join their path, but then it felt like you going back to that inauthentic version of self, which would kind of. So I was curious,
Yeah.
and then you went, but how can I be a role model to other people that I'm saying this if I can't be an authentic version of myself?
That's it.
And I got that from when you were saying. I thought, okay, yeah, that. So you've, and especially if what you're doing and what you're saying and how you're trying to help others now, it seemed to be, I've got to do what I say I'm going to do.
And believe you me, often I listen to people like, just quit your job and go and do something you love. And it's all right for him. He's obviously got loads of money in the bank and all that jazz. Yeah. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
But what I will say is there is a bizarre moment of clarity and contentness when you know you've made a decision based on that gut and it's right, as opposed to fighting it. And it's that whole, the awareness, being allowed to just be aware that it's there, creates that ability to then go, actually, this is right. To everyone else, this might look like a really bizarre decision. It might look like, what are you doing when the club is flying? You've got supporters that are threatening to hold sit-ins at stadiums to make you stay, and you're still saying no.
Yeah.
Bizarrely, no, it's right. It's not a fallout. Yeah. It's not anything. It's just, this is the right decision at the right time.
Yeah. Okay. Can we share what's next, or is that?
We don't know.
Okay.
Well, quite, yeah. What's next? So I will continue to work with clients. I've always kept clients, and I will probably, I'm unlocking my potential.
I love this. Yeah.
No, like genuinely, I don't know. There are opportunities that are down the road, but at the minute, nothing's confirmed. It is about, and it makes me sound really zen, and I'm the least zen person ever, but there are opportunities. I'm very lucky that there are opportunities and there's people talking. Again, I will know when that opportunity is right. At the minute, that isn't there. Yeah. I haven't necessarily nailed it on, but I know that there will be an avenue that goes, yes, this is for now, this is where I want to be. Nice. The destination is up there, it is in my mind, it is pinned. I know where I want to be at one point in my life. It's just where do we go and how do we get there?
Okay. Yeah. Nice. I won't ask you to share that. You're all right.
Well, I'm happy to share it because when I don't get, when I do, you can replay this clip. Okay. See, he said
There's no judgment here.
No. I would love to be a CEO of a big sporting organisation.
Nice.
That for me would tick all my boxes within the sporting world, but helping people be the best they can be to ultimately make the group perform at its peak. So that is the dream role.
Yeah.
Will we get there? Who knows? Are we working every day to get there? Damn right we are. And along the way, there's an awful lot of lessons I can help other people with to get there.
And I think what's really interesting when I've sat in this scene, you're interviewing CEOs, is it's people that have got the goals to get the top. And I get the impression that you're quite going to enjoy the journey as well to it. I get this vibe from you that actually, one, it's what lessons am I going to learn in myself, but also what are the lessons I'm going to be able to share for others on that journey.
Yeah.
And if I get to that journey, then it's great. But if not, I've created a lot of good stuff in the world. I don't know if that's just because but that's the vibe I get from you. Yeah.
That's it. And I think that's why I enjoyed a sporting environment.
Okay. Yeah.
Because start of every pre-season, you've heard every player go, we've trained really well. This is going to be the best year we've ever got. Yeah. Some teams go on and win the comp. Some teams get relegated.
Yeah.
They all did pre-season together.
Yeah.
They've all got the same bonds in the group.
Yeah.
So whether we win in terms of get it, achieve it, the goal, or we don't, the relationships we've made along the way can be relationships for life, and they can influence people along the way that they may go on other places and achieve other ways. And we've been a part of that. And that I think is the biggest strength we can have as a human in the world.
No, I love that. And I guess the bit for me then around the unlocking potential, and then we'll kind of start to put some advice together for people, because I think there's an awful lot of nice content in this. It's another one I'm going to enjoy listening back and just pulling stuff out of. I think then, again, going into that kind of how to get the best out of others, what is it that how could you offer some advice? So let's say there's people out there who are in leadership positions now who maybe new to leadership or maybe in bigger leadership positions or even at CEO level, but are listening to this and going, I like this approach of how he's talking. I probably don't. I probably am a rescuer and not a solver. What is your approach to that you could share with people, or what is the approach that you've learned over the years of you in leadership positions that'd be helpful?
The biggest one, and it often gets met with someone at the height of struggle, let's say, the height of struggle in this area, often gets met with the most resistance when I say it, but is put your oxygen mask on first.
Oh, yeah.
Goes back to and ties into what we were saying about the body leaving clues. Down the line, it probably gets termed nowadays as authenticity. But if you are preaching, if you are saying you're a leader and clearly not adhering to your own belief system, no matter how much you pretend, it will happen. So, from a practical point of view, how many leaders sit in the room and go to their team, my door's always open door policy, just come in and see me.
Yeah.
Great. But how many times do you as a leader walk up to a desk when you see an employee struggling and say, how can I help?
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
There's a big difference in sitting in your office and someone going, hey, Sue's really struggling. Well, she knows my door's always open. Just come and talk.
Okay.
And going up to Sue and going, hey, Sue, I've just noticed.
Yeah.
We act as leaders often with that sense of, open door. That's the excuse. They know they can come anytime.
Yeah.
Protecting ourselves. Not making ourselves vulnerable to then go out. So, but you're not aware of that because we're trying to find those quick fixes, the open door policies, the saying, often because we're so consumed, because we haven't put our oxygen mask on first, because we're not in the space that we're listening to our team. We're not truly serving our people. We're just managing them.
Yeah.
So you asked me for one bit of practical advice there, and I realise I've not really you need to figure out what puts you in that space regularly to think about leadership as opposed to management.
I think you did. No, I think you actually gives a lot of really good advice. So my interpretation of it would help you so my interpretation of that was, if you're suboptimal, so you haven't got your oxygen mask on and you're struggling to breathe and you're overwhelmed and stuff, you can't actually see, let's use the wood from the trees analogy, that there's people in your office, in your room, people you're working with that are struggling because you're struggling yourself, which means you haven't got that lens on to see others. Whereas if you're in a good place, you turn up feeling optimal, you feel like you're managing yourself or leading yourself, should we lean into, in a better state, you're more aware of others. So you can see if Susan is struggling because you're in a good place. So actually now you can turn around and go, Susan's a bit different today.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go and when she's making a brew, maybe I need to walk over and make a brew and just check in. Whereas if you're in a good place, you can't see that. And so you're unaware of that. But like you've said, we lean into the fact of, well, she can come and see me. Where we all know actually.
Because that's protection. She knows she can come and see me.
But also, it's but that's...
I can't take any more on.
But the challenge, I think the bravery piece of the bravery piece of, as a leader, you recognising that, going over and go, just checking in, all good.
Yeah.
Actually, stepping yourself out your office to go, actually, this could be a really uncomfortable conversation, which I probably don't have time for because I've got 8 million other things to do. But if I am a good leader, I need to go and check in with Susan to make sure she's all right. So for me, it's quite a brave thing because if Susan then opens up, actually, I've given myself another kind of situation I need to then kind of support. Whereas actually, for Susan to walk into your office still takes the same level of bravery. And it's who's prepared to be the brave one to begin with. Yeah. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah,
and I think actually good leadership is saying, I'm comfortable being brave and I'm comfortable being vulnerable, put myself in a situation to walk over to you.
Correct.
So again, it comes back to leading by example.
Correct. And it may not be Susan that you influence.
Correct.
It may be Jackie that's down the corridor that doesn't say anything to you. Oh, look at that.
100%. Yeah,
Look what he did.
The ripple effect of going, oh my gosh, I can't believe they've actually gone out their way to do that.
Yeah.
No, I really love that. And I think it's a really nice philosophy to kind of live by, isn't it? But it comes back to starting with self.
Correct. And my head, you probably saw then as you were talking about, my head works in movies. I love it. Everything goes to movies. And at the point of the oxygen mask, and what you were saying there was, suboptimal. You haven't got your oxygen mask on. Yeah. You're fighting for air, and the person next to you is struggling in their seat to get the parachute on. And all you're doing is faffing and faffing and faffing and flapping. Yeah. If you might get that oxygen mask on, calm everything down, you then realise that the seatbelt buckle's caught. And it's a simple action to undo it, but you don't see it in all the frantic chaos as the plane's plummeting. Can you see the trailer now? What happens as the plane hits the water? Who did they get free? But that is the analogy. So that would be one of them.
And I think it's a really nice thing, isn't it? But I think it, and we were sat in this room, and we had Ian Penrose, who's actually the chairman of Preston North End Football Club. And one of the things he said is when he was meeting people, I mean, their budget, the business they had was a couple of 100 million, so they had a slightly bigger budget to do it. But he just got on a flight and flew to Boston.
Love it.
To just go and have a conversation in the person's office to say, I'd rather just, let's meet you.
Yeah, love it.
In your office, And some might say, but it's all right. But you still have to then take the effort to get on that flight, to travel, be away from your family and friends in the UK to go and do that. And like you've said, the impact of knowing that. And people go, oh my gosh, he's flown off around the world just to have a conversation. Whereas you could have just picked up the phone or now could have just
jumped
Teams
on
or Zoom.
Yeah, no.
So I think it's a really nice philosophy.
Yeah, there you go.
So just before we move on to advice, because we promised our listeners that, when we look at unlocking potential in ourselves or in potential in others, is there anything that we haven't covered that you feel is relevant or important?
No, I think we're
good.
I think we've covered it in that sense. I think when we go on to the advice, it'll kind of probably unravel more things, and I tend to love to dive in and jump on a soapbox and start talking and rabbit away.
That's good.
But no, I think we're there.
Good. Yeah. So, 3 practical things that people could try today.
3 practical things. Holding themselves to 3 questions, the 3 whys. I know it's very popular at the minute, but so go on, tell me more. And why does that make you? Having those 3 questions, when someone comes to you from your team with a problem, asking why 3 times to really cut through the bullshit and work out what you sat here for. Are you here to vent, to complain about a moment, and then actually that's all you need and you can walk out, and actually I don't need to take offence, I don't need to make any change, I can just listen and let you walk out? Are you here because you want me to say you're right and you want to feel part of my tribe or our tribe and we need to take on the world together, okay? Or do you need a little bit of emotional support because actually you're let me work that out through my questions of, okay, tell me a bit more. Why does it make you feel like that? Rather than jumping in straight away at the first time, the first presentation of the problem. So holding yourself and being aware to say 3 questions and let's see where this conversation goes.
And for the people that are listening to that, why that's important, can you share that?
Yeah, so because I kind of mentioned it at the beginning, didn't I, about when we have often conflict within life, it's due to 2 people coming together over a subject matter, but coming at it for different reasons.
Yeah. So
we tend to either want to feel like we belong to someone and get them on side with our views. Yeah. I'm a Liverpool supporter. Are you? Are you coming with me? Or are we going against the United supporter? Do you know what I mean? That tribal. It's I just need to get it off my chest. Yeah. And once it's off my chest, everything's great. Yeah. And then there's the action piece. Yeah. Actually, I don't know what to do here. Yeah. Can you give me the answer and solve it and help me problem solve it? what often tends to happen is you come to me wanting to vent, knowing full well you're going to go out the door and solve the problem. I jump in to try and solve it, and you're now arguing with me because you don't want me to solve it. You just want to vent it.
Yeah.
So that then leads to more. Correct. So having the 3 questions of why helps you determine, okay, what are you actually after here, Andy?
Yeah, and I think that's the bit I think I wanted to kind of get to, because I understood that, but I think for people, it's what is the intent? What is the intention behind somebody saying what they need to say? And by you saying, let's just take a pause and go, let's really work out what's the intention. Is it just, you actually just need a rant, don't you? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Right, cool, go.
Yeah. One of I was actually talking to one of my friends on the way up here, who he's going to do a workshop, and he's quite apprehensive because he's never done this bigger scale of a group, and he's messaged someone else who just, with all his content, and his mate just replied with, "Mate, it's not about you. Doesn't matter. It's about them."
Yeah.
And as a leader in a moment like that, it's knowing that it isn't about you. Mm-hmm. It's about the person on the other side of the table. Ask your 3 whys and work it out, because so often we dive into self-preserve as opposed to helping the person on the other side of the table.
And then, I use that term, I modelled it from NLP, that behavioural flexibility is to go, okay, so now I know where they're at, I can be the version that they need me to be.
Correct.
And I can match them at where they're at.
Correct.
Rather than trying to match them where I'm at and trying to work out where they're at and are we aligned.
That's it. And that's one of the biggest things that I think sport taught me as a player.
Right.
Dealing with different players, different backgrounds, different cultures, then walking out of there into a fan zone.
Yeah.
So you've had the banter and the chat in the changing rooms, to then walk out into a fan zone and meet a 4-year-old that you can't use that. How do I change my behaviour and the way I talk? So we do it in that sense. But then when we're in our setting as a leader within work, we tend to not be able to do it as freely.
Yeah.
So it's
3,
that person's coming in. I know I can. So being aware that this is going to be one of those moments in terms of the advice, and now saying to myself, I need to ask 3 whys before I do anything.
Yeah. No, it's cool, and I was smiling because in my world, when somebody comes in and asks a question or says something, the first question I ask is, "What do you need from me?"
Yeah, that's it.
And what version of me do you need to be in this? And and some, like people that know me well enough, especially clients, will turn around and go, "I actually need nothing. I just need you to sit there and listen." And I'll go, "Sound
sweet,"
and they'll just rant, and I'll go,
"We done."
And I'll just hold the silence, and they went, "Okay, you can speak now." And then it's great. It's really funny because I'll go, "Right, okay, cool. You've asked me to hold space. I will hold that."
Yeah, brilliant. Love that. Love that. I'm really put off now.
Yeah.
I love it.
But it just, all it does turn around and go, or when they've done, because I think I agree, and this is all about you, this podcast, but I'll share this because but one of my pet hates is when I say something and someone turns around and goes, "You know what you need to do?" And my response is going, "Yeah, I do, yeah."
Yeah, thanks.
But what would be helpful if you could just give me some insights on what you think.
Yeah.
I think this. What insights do you think? All right. Yeah. Whereas, but they jump, don't they? They jump into rescue, or they jump into solve, or they jump into.
And so many of the kind of the leadership principles is kind of, we'll let the person solve it for themselves.
Yeah.
But sometimes team managers, it's the analogy of, well, what do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? Right? How would you solve it? But sometimes people I need you to give me some options to feel better. And then I can go away and try and work it out.
Yeah.
But you need to understand what is the best part.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. What principle do you wish every leader understood?
Put simply, what I said there, it's not about you.
I don't think there's anything more to add to that, is there? No. I love that. I guess for listeners then, there's some really good insights that we've shared today, and I do appreciate them because there's been there's a lot of depth to this conversation as well at times, which has been.
Has that been all right?
Yeah, really good. Yeah,
right,
I was using that with a positive intent.
All right, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, no, because I think going back to those questions, I think a lot of people have respond surface level, and and people have questions of what do you want to hear, all those things. So I think by asking deeper questions and having depth to stuff, I think we get the true and real deep the problems. And I think where we've gone today with some of these, I've certainly pushed at times with you to understand what was, what have you done to get to where you are and where you are, because I really do value how you see the world, and I think it's really cool. Thanks. And I think it's really important, and I think it's going to come across really, really well. And I think some of the insights you have shared have been insightful.
Yeah.
Couldn't think of another word today, so it just
I'll
seems
take that. Yeah. Thanks.
So I guess what could, from what we've talked about, what actions, is there any other actions that we think that people could be taking that kind of we haven't maybe touched on?
What other actions?
The answer could be no.
No is the no is the answer. In the sense of back full circle, back to the solving. I'm very reluctant within this space when we talk about actions to give specifics.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we then get into that realm of doesn't understand me, doesn't know me, he doesn't know my life, he doesn't know what I'm put, and I don't. But what I do know is that we all have these voices, we all have these gut instincts, we all have a purpose. We don't all listen. So however you want to do it, or even realize the fact that you need to do it, you do you.
Yeah.
But when you've got some questions about it, come and have a chat, and I can hopefully undo it for you.
I love that. Yeah.
Does that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know what rings for me when listening to you is a Stephen Covey quote of "seek to understand before to be understood."
Yes. Totally that.
And I think that is what we're saying, isn't it? It's just like, before jumping, it's just stop, pause and go, what do you need from me? What do you mean by this?
I'll give you a really simplistic reason for me saying that, okay? And it happened yesterday. Member of the team within the group, and I said to somebody, there are a box of balls there. The first need 10. And I lifted the box down, I put the 10 balls there, and I said the first need 10 balls. I walked out of the room and came back. There were balls all over the floor. The balls that I'd asked for the first team had been separated, not pumped up, not took out of a bag, not put in a bag. And your first reaction is, what? What have you done? Well, you said the first team need 10 balls, they're there. Yeah, but the room's a mess, they're not pumped up, they can't use them, blah, blah, blah. Now, use that analogy in what you've just asked me there. Well, he said I just need to walk outside for 5 minutes and it'll be all right. Well, no. Yes, I did say that. There was far more in what I said. Don't take my word as the specific example of doing it. You need to find the path that suits you, that fixes you, and not just take, verbatim what I've just said and do it and deliver it. There's other bits to it.
That's lovely. So where can people follow you and find you?
Anywhere and everywhere. LinkedIn is my big one. I like LinkedIn because I like sharing ideas, as you know, and having the conversations. Nice. Do like a little bit of a silly video on Instagram. So Holmes from Home on Instagram. Yeah. But I'm just Tim Holmes on LinkedIn. They're the two major places. And if you want a bit of silly content, always look at Widnes Vikings Rugby League, because I'm not shy jumping in front of a camera on there.
Well, we'll share all them links as well. So
but yeah, that's me.
And we've kind of touched on it, but what you're working on next? We know the vision now.
Yeah, so the vision now is continuing to be me and living in my purpose and finding the role that is me. So I, working with clients to help them unlock their best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And scaling that mountain of a CEO of a big, huge sports company, and when I'm there, we'll do another podcast
Part 2
on
like
there
that.
like that.
Well, we'll definitely all be following your journey for
That's
sure.
it.
It's been lovely. And is there any other challenge or final challenge you'd like to set our audience?
What's that action that you've been putting off that you can so easily do now?
Brilliant. Tim, thank you.
Cheers.
It's been
Thank
amazing.
You. Take care.
Appreciate it a lot.
All right.